brand new fishing rod, you got your brand new reel, and you're ready to spool that reel with your favorite line. Sure, you could throw that spool in a shoebox, or you could use one of these, a fishing spooler slash fishing tensioner. Looks pretty medieval, right? It's actually really helpful. Let me show you how to use it. So the fishing reel line spooler is built just like a rod, but instead of guides, it has a 90-degree curved tip with this freely spinning gimbal setup meant to hold spools of line at the desired tension. The spool gimbal can stay fixed for applying line at tension to bait casters, or spin freely to apply line at tension to spinning reels. May not seem important, but allowing the spool to twist as it applies line to your reel means that the line can go directly onto your reel without line twist. And that's huge because it'll help prevent wind knots for future casting. So today I'll be spooling my brand new Scaling 3000 reel with 20-pound Cast King braid and have it backed with 6-pound mono. Having mono backing is important if you don't have a braid ready spool. Even with the best knot, tying braid directly to an alloy spool could mean slipping in the future. So to play it safe, take the cheapest mono you have. I'm using 6-pound test to back 20-pound braid. I found that the mono test doesn't really matter. I actually prefer using a lighter test mono for backing my braid, like a 6-pound or even 8-pound test mono, because it provides much more even line lay underneath your braided line. First step is mounting your reel to your line spooler. Comes with a decent reel seat, so just plug it on like you would any reel to any rod. Next step is to mount your mono spool to the gimbal arms. You want to put one end on one ball joint and the other end on the other ball joint, and turn the line spool tensioner knob in the clockwise direction to apply pressure to from the yoke to the arms here. And essentially what you're doing is using this knob to create tension on these ball joints, which in turn applies pressure and tension to your spool. So I'm going to pull out about 2 feet of line and tie it to my spool. Oh, and pro tip, always remember to keep your bail open before applying line to your spool. I personally like to use an arbor knot when tying any fishing line to any spool. Once you have both knots, go ahead and find the center of the reel and give it a quick tug, and both knots should meet. It's at this point you can work that knot back and forth, and it should bite into itself and leave you with a properly tensioned mono knot on your spool. Go ahead and cut the tag end off, and that's it. Go ahead and close your bail, and let's go ahead and apply this mono backing at tension. Now that we've tied our mono backing directly to our fishing spool, we can go ahead and start applying the backing. Make sure that this tension knob is loosened so this gimbal arm can freely spin, because again, you're applying line and at the same time turning this spool to prevent any line twist as you go directly onto your fishing reel. It's also at this point you can apply the tension, or set the tension of the line that you're unspooling to your reel by turning this knob. It's also a good idea at this point to set your drag knob pretty tight, because you don't want the spool to spin unnecessarily. So let's go ahead and apply our mono backing. Let me slow down a little bit. So as I turn the reel, the gimbal and the mono spool spins at the same revolution. And that's it. Nice and even, nice and firm. I don't even feel the strands budging or bunching at all. put maybe 2 to 3 layers of mono backing onto the bare alloy spool itself, just enough to bury that arbor knot and just enough to provide an adequate grip as we apply our braided line. So I have my 2 to 3 feet lead of mono line. I'm going to take the same amount of lead from my braid and tie the two together with a double uni knot. So I've got my 2 uni knot braids. I'm going to pull them together till they're just tight enough. I don't want to over tug. Just want to get it tight enough to set the knots, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the leads and tag ends off of both knots, and there you go, your double uni knot. Once you set it finger tight, go ahead and tighten the spool holder. And just like with the mono spool, you're going to tighten it just enough so you can start spooling and make your little micro adjustments as you spool. We're now ready to spool our fishing reel with our braid. Go ahead and make sure that drag is set pretty tightly. Go ahead and loosen the fishing line spool holder so it starts spinning freely. You can see there's a little play here, and if done right and if tensioned properly, you should have 1 revolution of your braided line spool for every 1 revolution of your spinning reel. So we went ahead and spooled our fishing reel with our 20-pound braid. I stopped 1/8 of an inch short from the lip of the spool. It's important you give yourself about that much room because it helps prevent wind knots when casting into the wind, especially with spinning gear. Here's my Abbott MXJ to give you an idea of what it's like spooling a conventional bait caster. The only difference being is tightening the line spool holder so it doesn't spin. It just has to stay in a fixed position so it can apply your line under tension directly onto your bait casting spool. If you guys have had any experience with a line spooler like this, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I really like mine, and if you don't have one, I think you like one too. So till next time guys, tight lines, I'll see you on the shore, and I'm outie.